Hello, my name is Jim Roman, the founder of Business Owners Institute. Let me ask you a question. Do you own your business, or does your business own you? If you were to stop working today, would your business run itself? Would it even grow? What I'm getting at is, do you have a business that can thrive without you? I'm very excited to tell you about an event we have coming up August 18th. The author of Built to Sell, John Warrilow, is going to be here in Richmond, Virginia. I just had an opportunity to have an interview with John, and it was just great to hear what he has to say and what he's going to be bringing to that seminar on August 18th. So tell me a little bit more about the book, how the book came about. Again, I really think it's a great book. I thought I could have wrote it, but you've written it, so I don't have to do that. So thanks for doing that as well.
Cool, yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I've had a few businesses. My most recent one was one that I had for some time as a research company, and I kind of built it up, and I guess it was 2004. I decided I wanted to sell it, and I went to see a mergers and acquisitions professional. These are the guys that sell companies, and I said, you know, we've got a bunch of employees, and we've got really blue chip clients. We were doing business with Microsoft and IBM and Apple Computer and all these big companies. And I said, I think I want to sell. What do you think it's worth? And he said, well, it kind of depends on the answer to a couple of questions. So if you don't mind, let me ask a few questions. I said, yeah, sure. And he said, well, you're in the research business, so who does the research? And I said, well, it's I've got researchers doing it, but I'm certainly still involved in it. I certainly approve big studies and major questionnaires. He said, okay. Question number 2, who does the selling? And at the time, my name was on the door, and of course I said, I still do a lot of the selling. And he kind of looked down and peered over his glasses at me and said, I don't think I can sell your business. I don't think there's really anything to sell. And, I pushed back when I heard that and said, you got to be kidding me. I've been building this business for 8 years or whatever it was at the time, and of course there's something to sell. And he said, no, I don't think there is. And his rationale, of course, was that I was personally too involved in the company, and that the company couldn't succeed if I got hit by a bus. And so he said, until you get yourself out of the business, there's really nothing to sell. And it took a 4-year sort of journey from 2004 to 2008, where I kind of made some changes in the business, and ultimately it was acquired by a public company in 2008. So, that journey sort of inspired the book, and the changes that need to be made to kind of transfer a business from being pretty dependent on the owner in terms of sales and product design and so forth, to one that's less dependent on the owner. And that was really what inspired the book.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. So that strikes a question. How do you figure out what the worth of your business is, or how do you drive up value?
Yeah. Well, in essence, if you simplify it to its core, the way that there are 2 levers you can pull on as a business owner to increase the value of your company. One lever is your profitability and how profitable you're going to be in the future. And that gets into the products that you have, the markets that you serve, the potential for your product and service, and so forth. The other lever you have is the reliability, or said another way, riskiness of those profits. And it's those 2 levers you can pull on to make your business worth more. Show and demonstrate to a buyer that there are lots of big opportunities ahead, or show how you've reduced the riskiness of your business. So, there are all sorts of things, and we'll talk about this on the 18th when we're together in Richmond, but there are all sorts of things you can do to reduce the riskiness of your business. One in particular is to reduce or increase, the reoccurring revenue that you have. So trying to get more people on contracts or subscriptions or membership programs where an acquirer can look into the future and see the revenue that you've got. That's one way to reduce the riskiness of your future business and increase the value of your company.
Now, the event is called Built to Sell, but I also know that the tagline to your book is creating a business that can thrive without you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Do I need to sell my business? Is this going to be about selling my business, or what?
In fact, I think it applies to all people who have a business today, because the reason you want a business that can thrive without you is that every company that's dependent on its owner reaches a ceiling beyond which it cannot go through. And that'll happen for different companies in different sizes. Some, law firms, it happens very, very small revenue, maybe $300,000 or $400,000 in revenue. The law firm who is dependent on the owner will not be able to grow anymore. A heating and air conditioning company may be able to grow much, much larger before it reaches that ceiling. In our case, I can remember to this day, we hit $3.3 million in sales, and we flatlined. For 3 consecutive years, we could not get beyond that until I pulled myself out of the business, and that's when we started to ramp up, when we actually got me out of the selling and out of the doing. And so I think every business will reach that ceiling because, of course, there's only so many hours in the day, and as long as you're working with a 24-hour clock, as we all are, the business is dependent on the owner, there's just there's nowhere to go. We all reach that ceiling. So I think the number one reason, to come on the 18th, and I hope you do, is that to get beyond that ceiling of complexity and that ceiling that holding companies back in terms of growth, you've got to get yourself out of the doing of the business. And once you get out of the core of the business and it can run without you, of course, you've got all of the great options open. You could sell your company if you wanted to. You could keep running it, but just do the things that you like to do because you've got other people doing the things that you dislike. Or, in fact, install a management team and become essentially a shareholder. All those options are available to you, but they're only available, I think, if your business really can run without you. And so that's what we're going to talk about on the 18th.
Excellent. I guess the last question that I have for you is you were sharing with me before we got on the call the difference between a hub and an apple picker. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the hub and the apple picker. Well, again, I'll share a little bit more detail in Richmond, but essentially there are 2 types of business owners in my experience. There's the hub and spoke manager and the apple picker. And the hub and spoke manager gets its name because he thinks or she thinks of himself or herself as a hub in a hub and spoke in a wheel. And of course, all communications come in and out of the hub in a hub and spoke model. Like if you've ever tried to fly out of Chicago's O'Hare Airport, you know that works fine until the airport gets shut down or the hub gets compromised, and then all of the spokes are fall apart. That's not a very sellable business because, of course, the hub, the centerpiece, the owner is too much in the center of the business. The apple picker is a story of an entrepreneur that I came to know who I said, describe your business to me in visual terms. And he said, if I close my eyes, I see myself looking out of the window of an apple farm. And I'm not doing the work of farming the apples, but I've got a whole core of people picking the apples, making sure they're not blemished, putting the best ones in a truck, watching the truck go down the road to go to the market. And he's sitting back on the second floor of this home watching this operation. And that, to me, is the essence of building a company that is sellable, that's not dependent on you personally, that you're working, Michael Gruber used this term, working on the business, not in it. And that's really the essence of the apple picker, where he or she is looking out at their business and able to see the operations, but not necessarily being in the centerpiece of them. And of course, again, that's really the difference between a hub and spoke manager and the apple picker. And of course, you want to be the apple picker if you want to build a business that can thrive without you.
Sounds good. Again, every time I talk to you, I learn something new, even for my own business. Is there any last things that you want to share with our attendees that will be joining us April 18th at the Jepson Alumni Center at U of R?
No, just looking forward to seeing you all there. We'll talk about how do you build a business you can sell if that's what you want to do one day. I'll give you some tools for thinking through your business. And, of course, there's also an assessment tool that you can take that will help you understand how sellable your business is today. So we'll share all those things for you on the 18th. I look forward to meeting you.
Well, again, John, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself there in France. Again, for our audience, we have the author of Built to Sell, John Warrilow, Creating a Business That Can Thrive Without You, Inc.'s 2010 Best Books for Business Owners. Again, John, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care. Have a good one. See you on the 18th.
So those are just some of the nuggets that John has to offer. If you'd like to learn those nuggets and much, much more, we invite you to join us August 18th for the Built to Sell event, brought to you by Business Owners Institute, Small Business Development Center of Greater Richmond, and the Council of CEO. It's going to be an exciting event, and we would love to see you there.